Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we are cracking open the ultimate master vault of human endurance, mental toughness, and absolute personal transformation. Think about it for a moment. We live in a world that is completely obsessed with comfort, shortcuts, and safety nets. We are constantly told to find balance, to avoid stress, and to protect our feelings at all costs. We are conditioned to believe that our limitations are hardwired into our DNA, and that when life hands us a bad deck of cards, we are fully entitled to fold and play the victim. But what if everything you have been taught about your personal limits is a massive lie? What if the exhaustion, the self-doubt, and the pain you feel when you hit a wall are not indicators that you are finished, but are actually just the signal that you have only tapped into a tiny fraction of your true potential? We are diving incredibly deep into a massive, immersive story breakdown of Can't Hurt Me. Master Your Mind and Defy the Odds by David Goggins. This video is not just a standard book summary. It is a profound psychological and physical blueprint designed to shatter your excuses, audit your mental weaknesses, and teach you how to build an unshakable mind capable of enduring absolute hell to achieve greatness. David Goggins is widely considered the toughest man alive. He is the only member of the United States Armed Forces to successfully complete Navy SEAL training, U.S. Army Ranger School, and Air Force Tactical Air Controller training. He has broken the world record for pull-ups and competed in dozens of the most brutal ultramarathons on the planet. But he did not start out as a genetic superhero. He started as a broken, terrified, abused kid who was illiterate, overweight, and trapped in a dead-end life. Get incredibly comfortable. Eliminate all outside distractions. Grab a fresh journal and let us discover how to master the unspoken laws of suffering so you can callous your mind and permanently exit the matrix of comfort. Part 1. Escape from the House of Horrors. To fully understand the unshakable mindset of David Goggins, we must first journey back to the absolute darkest roots of his childhood. David was born into a world defined by systematic physical violence, terror, and absolute psychological torment. His father, Trunnis Goggins, was a charismatic but deeply sadistic businessman who ran a roller skating rink in Buffalo, New York. To the outside world, the family looked successful and happy, but behind closed doors, the reality was a living nightmare. From the tender age of 6, David, his brother, and his mother were treated as forced labor. They were compelled to work at the skating rink every single night until the early hours of the morning. If a single mistake was made, or if Trunnis was simply in a foul mood, the punishment was absolute brutality. David recalls being beaten with leather belts, heavy chains, and boots until his skin was broken and bleeding. His mother was dragged down staircases by her hair and beaten within an inch of her life. In this environment, fear was not an occasional emotion. It was the air they breathed. The chronic stress of this childhood trauma fundamentally altered David's biology. He developed a severe stutter. His hair began to fall out in patches due to stress-induced alopecia, and his nervous system was in a constant state of hyperarousal. When his mother finally gathered the immense courage to escape with David, moving to a small town in Indiana, they had absolutely nothing. They lived in a small apartment on a welfare budget, and David found himself deeply behind in school. He was functionally illiterate. suffered from toxic self-loathing, and hid his insecurities behind a mask of adolescent rebellion. He was a young man completely written off by society, carrying a mountain of trauma that would have permanently broken the average human being. Part 2. The Accountability Mirror and the Ultimate Truth. As David entered his late teens and early 20s, his life continued to spiral downward. He managed to scrape through high school by cheating systematically because his reading comprehension was so low. He joined the Air Force pararescue program, but quit during the water survival training because he was terrified of the pool. Using a medical diagnosis of sickle cell trait as an easy exit strategy, by the time he was 24 years old, David Goggins weighed a staggering 300 pounds. His daily routine consisted of working a night shift job as an exterminator, spraying cockroaches in commercial kitchens for less than $1,000 a month. His breakfast consisted of an entire box of chocolate donuts and a massive milkshake, which he consumed while watching television in absolute depression. One morning, after a brutal shift of spraying bugs, David walked into his bathroom, wiped the steam off the mirror, and truly looked at himself for the first time in years. He did not see a victim of childhood abuse, an unfortunate kid from a broken home, or someone who just needed a break. He saw a fat, lazy, uneducated liar who was completely wasting his existence on Earth. This pivotal moment birthed the concept of the accountability mirror. David realized that society will always offer you soft cushions and excuses to make you feel better about your failures. But if you want to change your reality, you must enter a space of absolute, unfiltered truth with yourself. He began writing his deepest insecurities, his flaws, and his specific goals on sticky notes and pasting them directly onto his mirror. He didn't use soft language. If he was fat, the sticky note said, "You are fat, go run." If he was illiterate, it said, "You need to study for 2 hours tonight, stop cheating." By forcing himself to face his absolute ugliness every single morning, he stripped away the layers of denial that keep the middle class stuck in mediocrity. He accepted absolute personal responsibility for his condition, recognizing that, while his past was not his fault, his future was entirely his responsibility. Part 3. The 300-pound Navy SEAL candidate. The spark that completely ignited David's transformation occurred when he happened to watch a television documentary about the Navy SEALs. He saw men enduring absolute hell during training, shivering in freezing ocean water, covered in mud, and being broken down by elite instructors. In those suffering men, David saw the ultimate antidote to his own weakness. He wanted to find a crucible that would either kill him or forge him into something magnificent. He began calling Navy SEAL recruiters all over the country, but every single one laughed at him when they discovered his weight. Finally, one recruiter agreed to see him if he could meet the baseline medical requirements. The verdict was brutal. David had exactly less than 3 months to lose over 100 pounds to even be allowed to enter the training pipeline. What followed is a legendary testament to human willpower. David designed a daily routine that was pure madness. He would wake up at 5 in the morning, drink a glass of water, and ride a stationary bike for 2 hours. Then, he would head to the local high school track and run miles, despite his shins bleeding. and his joints aching under the massive weight. In the afternoons, he would spend hours in the gym, lifting weights, followed by another 2-hour session on the stationary bike at night. His diet was reduced to a small breast of chicken and a handful of vegetables every single day. He was living in a constant state of caloric deficit, severe physical exhaustion, and non-stop muscular pain. Whenever his mind screamed at him to stop, he would look at the sticky notes on his accountability mirror and remind himself of the alternative, returning to spraying cockroaches for the rest of his life. Through sheer relentless physical assault, David Goggins lost 106 pounds in less than 90 days. He stood before the recruiter as a lean, dangerous vessel of pure intent, ready to face Bud S. training. Part 4. Surviving Hell Week 3 times over. Entering basic underwater demolition. Training, known as Bud S., is widely considered entering the most punishing military selection process on Earth. It is a 6-month meat grinder designed to systematically expose every single hidden crack in a man's character. The true heart of this crucible is Hell Week, a continuous 5.5-day stretch of non-stop physical training where candidates are allowed a total of less than 4 hours of sleep. During his first attempt at Bud S., Goggins was performing exceptionally well until his class hit Hell Week. The continuous exposure to freezing Pacific water, carrying heavy rubber boats for miles, and running in soft sand triggered severe stress fractures in both of his legs. He pushed through the fractures until his body physically collapsed, forcing the medical staff to drop him from the class. Instead of quitting and going home, Goggins demanded to be rolled back to the next class to try again. He healed his legs, entered the training pipeline from the beginning, and made it back to Hell Week. But during this second attempt, he contracted a severe case of double pneumonia, nearly drowning during a night swim, and was pulled out by doctors once again. Most human beings would have taken this as a clear sign from the universe that they were not meant to be a SEAL. But David Goggins had calloused his mind to a point where quitting was completely impossible. He convinced the commanding officer to give him one final chance. He entered Bud S. for the 3rd time in a single year. To appreciate the level of damage his body was carrying, David had to tape his broken shins with heavy duct tape every morning just to keep his bones from splintering through his skin during the runs. He endured the freezing water, the verbal abuse from instructors, and the absolute sleep deprivation by shifting his mindset from survival to dominance. He did not just complete Hell Week, he owned it, graduating as a Navy SEAL and proving that the human spirit can override literal bone fractures. Part 5. The concept of taking souls. During his brutal encounters with military instructors and the suffering of training, Goggins developed one of his most powerful psychological strategies, a concept he calls taking souls. This technique is an elite mental framework used to flip the power dynamic when you are facing an oppressor, a harsh boss, a brutal competitor, or an incredibly difficult situation that is designed to break you. Imagine you are in the middle of Hell Week. It is 3 in the morning. The temperature is near freezing. You are covered in sand, and an instructor is standing over you with a megaphone, screaming insults and offering you hot coffee and donuts if you simply ring the bell and quit. The instructor's goal is to break your spirit and steal your energy. Goggins realized that if you show weakness, they win. But if you respond to their absolute worst abuse with an unexpected surge of energy, a smile, or a hyper-focused performance, you completely shock their system. You play a psychological trick on them by outworking their expectations and showing that their punishment only makes you stronger. You effectively steal their peace of mind. You take their soul. He applied this in his training by making his boat crew paddle harder, sing louder, and execute exercises faster whenever the instructors increased the punishment. Suddenly, the instructors were the ones getting frustrated and tired because their weapons of psychological warfare were completely failing to affect him. You can use this strategy in your own life. When a boss is trying to overwhelm you with work to make you fail, or when an opponent is trying to intimidate you, do not complain or show fatigue. Deliver your results with flawless, hyper-speed execution and absolute composure. Let your excellence become a silent, terrifying force that completely dominates their mind. Part 6. The 40% Rule and the Cookie Jar. After serving several distinguished years as an active Navy SEAL, Goggins encountered a new challenge that would require him to explore the deepest frontiers of the human brain. He decided to raise money for a military charity by entering the world of extreme ultra-marathons. His first major race was the San Diego One Day, an elite event where runners must complete 100 miles on a 1-mile track within 24 hours. Goggins entered this race with zero specialized marathon training, weighing well over 220 pounds of pure muscle. By mile 70, his body began to systematically shut down. The bones in his feet were cracking. His kidneys were failing. He was urinating pure blood, and the muscles in his legs were locking up in agonizing spasms. He sat down in a folding chair, completely unable to move, realizing he had 30 miles left to go. It was in this dark abyss of absolute physical failure that Goggins formulated the 40% rule. This rule states that when your mind is screaming that you are completely finished, when your body feels entirely depleted, and when you feel you cannot possibly take another step, you have actually only utilized 40% of your true capability. The remaining 60% lives locked away inside a biological governor controlled by your brain. Your brain naturally seeks to protect you from pain, so it fires off panic signals, exhaustion cues, and negative thoughts way too early to keep you safe in your comfort zone. To unlock that hidden 60%, Goggins created an internal tool called the Cookie Jar. The Cookie Jar is a mental archive where you store every single past victory, every hardship you survived, every obstacle you overcame, and every time you succeeded when everyone else doubted you. As he sat broken in that chair, Goggins dipped into his mental cookie jar. He reminded himself of surviving his father's abuse, losing 100 pounds in 3 months, and beating Hell Week 3 times with broken shins. He told himself, if you did that, you can definitely take one more step on this track. This psychological fuel overrode his physical agony. He stood up, bypassed his brain's survival governor, and ran the remaining 30 miles, completing the 100 miles through absolute cognitive dominance. Part 7. building a calloused mind and avoiding the governor. To sustain this level of elite performance throughout your entire life, you cannot rely on cheap motivational videos, inspiring quotes, or temporary emotional highs. Motivation is a complete illusion. It comes and goes like the weather. To achieve true sovereignty over your life, you must build what Goggins calls a calloused mind. Think about how physical calluses form on your hands. If you pick up a shovel and dig into the earth for hours, the friction will initially cause painful blisters. But if you return to that shovel day after day, the skin will harden, forming thick, protective calluses that make you completely immune to the friction. Your mind operates in the exact same way. If you consistently force yourself to do things you hate, things that make you uncomfortable, and things that terrify you, your brain will build cognitive calluses. This is why Goggins advocates for doing something that sucks every single day. If it is raining outside, that is the exact day you must go run. If you are exhausted after a 10-hour workday, that is the exact hour you must work on your side business or hit the gym. By systematically denying your brain its craving for comfort, you weaken the power of its internal governor. You train your subconscious to understand that comfort is not the goal of your existence. You build an unshakable identity built on discipline, ensuring that when real-world tragedies, financial collapses, or physical illnesses inevitably strike your life, your mind is already calloused enough to absorb the impact without fracturing. Part 8. The Ultimate Audit and Personal Empowerment. As our profound journey through the legendary landscape of David Goggins reaches its final destination, let us look at the entire architectural map of your newly empowered life. Remember this absolute, definitive truth. You are currently living your life at only a tiny fraction of your true potential because you have allowed the culture of comfort to dictate your limits. Stop allowing your past trauma, your current environment, or your inner self-doubt to keep you locked in a loop of mediocrity. Stop listening to the soft excuses of society and stop waiting for someone else to save you. Step into your authentic sovereignty today. Establish your accountability mirror and face your absolute truths without blinking. Attack your goals with an unshakable work ethic that leaves no room for hesitation. When you hit the wall of exhaustion, remember the 40% rule and realize that you have barely begun to tap into your reservoir of power. Build your cookie jar. Use the concept of taking souls to dominate your challenges, and look for the difficult paths that callous your mind. When you possess the immense courage to lean into suffering, accept absolute personal responsibility, and drive past your brain's internal governor, you unlock the ultimate key to human greatness. The illusions of fear and limitation will vanish completely from your presence. You will command premium authority over your destiny. Channel your focused energy into brilliant achievements and discover that you have transformed your life into a magnificent, unshakable monument of lasting global impact. What is the #1 mental strategy? From this mental toughness masterclass, whether it is establishing your own accountability mirror, utilizing the cookie jar during times of crisis, or applying the 40% rule to smash through a creative wall, that you are going to commit to practicing in your life today? Let me know your discipline goals in the comments down below. If this deep dive storytelling summary completely shattered your excuses and handed you a definitive architectural playbook for mental toughness, show some massive love by clicking that like button. Subscribe to the channel so you never miss another profound mindset, performance, or leadership book breakdown. And share this video with a friend who needs to break out of their comfort zone today. Callous your mind, embrace the suffering, master your internal governor, and I will see you in the next video.